What dark secret are you hiding from everyone? I witnessed my case suicide last year. I moved states afterwards and started a new life. My coworkers, clients, and new friends call me the sunshine of whatever room I walk into. But I'm completely dead inside. Even though I choose to fake it, I resent them for not seeing how fucked up I am. Damn, I can't imagine being in your situation. I know you feel fucked up, but I hope you realize you're important too. Last Christmas I leaned my sister and I don't have the same father and are technically half sisters. My sister's biological father tried to start a relationship with my mom that resulted in a pregnancy and ultimately didn't work out. That biological father is dead now, but I didn't probe any further about his identity or how he died in case it was something traumatic for my mom to remember. So she raised my sister as a single mother at my grandma's house in the 80s. Then she met my father and they started dating, and it worked out because they got married in the 90s, moved into a new house, and a short time after that I was born. She told me never call my sister my half sister and just pretend all of this doesn't matter because she's my sister and I'm keeping it that way. And if anyone asks about the 10-year age gap I just tell them it's a long story. My sister is technically a half sister as well. But the way we grew up she is 100% my sister and neither of us ever uses the word half when referring to the other. I have a secret fantasy life, populated with imaginary friends. It started in grade school, and I have continued all my life. I'm in my 50s now, and still prefer to be alone in my imaginary world instead of being with family or friends. I can't even tell my psychiatrist, because I'm afraid he will lock me up, or give me drugs, to make it all stop. This sounds like maladaptive daydreaming. It's not dangerous or a sign of needing to be locked up. All the best to ya. I've done this since I can remember as well. I'm now 42. I first heard about maladaptive daydreaming a little over a year ago. It was a relief to find out I wasn't crazy nor alone. But it's always been my big secret. When I was young, probably around age 9 or 10, I was walking home with my dog from a house around the block when he cut the corner and walked diagonally through the yard of this super mean old lady who lived at the end of your street. She was in her yard at the time tending to these really fancy looking rose bushes she had growing in beds along the border with her neighbor. My dog was a very friendly golden retriever who didn't even really come near her and certainly didn't do anything threatening. But she sprayed the F out of him with some kind of insecticide or rather chemical she was using on her roses. I ran back home with the dog and hosed him off. He coughed a bunch, but seemed otherwise fine. I didn't tell my parents because somehow I thought I was going to get into trouble for letting the dog walk in her yard. I'm glad I didn't tell them, though, because I decided that night to sneak downstairs, out the half bath window, and down the street to her yard where I cut down every goddamn rose bush I could get my hands on. When I was a teenager, I worked at a novelty tourist shop near me. Being the idiot that I was, I stole a wad of cash from the store. It was $100 in ones. I told nobody, but they knew it was missing. Right about the same time, a coworker who was always trying to get me fired was telling someone she got about $100 in tips from her other job. They ended up firing her because they didn't trust that it wasn't her. When I was 16, I conspired with a heroin addict I met online to help me off myself with heroin and dump my body in a dumpster in exchange for my valuables. I lived in a small town and he was in a bigger city where my school had an upcoming trip. We planned for me to slip away during the trip and meet up with him to do the deed. He chickened out last minute and ghosted me. I've struggled with disordered eating for at least a decade. It ebbs and flows. I know it's unhealthy, but the toxic part of me loves the feeling of being empty. Several years ago it was really bad. I was at my lowest weight ever. I had brain fog, difficulty breathing. When I started eating again my stomach would get really bloated, even if I only ate a small amount. I gained weight in the last year or so, and my depression and anxiety got really bad for a while. My family thinks I don't want to spend time with them. However, I just wanted to stay home because trying on my clothes and the idea of being in public made me want to kill myself. It was easier on me mentally to just stay home. I can feel myself slipping back into my old, disordered eating habits unfortunately. Hi, I'm an eating disorder therapist, and I hate to break it to you, if you don't deep down know this already, but you have an eating disorder and there are specialized therapists like myself that can help you through this. The bloating is caused by refeeding, and it can be dangerous if not monitored medical care and team. Since basically you are starving yourself before your body is struggling to get the right bacteria to digest your food again. Plus your body is very taxed by lack of proper nutrition and it's going to be hard mentally as well as physically. Eating disorders are not something to be taken lightly, and it's so important to get mental health help because it's a mind thing that then affects your body. Many people die from eating disorders or shorten their lifespan. Please get professional help from an eating disorder team. And everyone stop minimizing it and calling it disordered eating. When I was younger I lived with my grandmother. Not long after I turned 18 her health started to decline. That sort of decline that means she won't be around for much longer. Over the months I did my best to take care of her, getting her to the hospital when she needed, and other things. We had someone coming every day to help her with things I couldn't. Well, what my family doesn't know is that the night she passed, I was in the living room watching TV. My dog was in bed with my grandma, and I started to hear him whimper and bark. I knew what was happening. I knew that if I acted I could potentially save her. I didn't want to watch her suffer anymore though. To watch her live with so much pain and unable to do anything for herself anymore. So I made the choice to let her pass before making any calls. She lived 92 years, and the only regret I have is that she passed a month after I would have graduated if I hadn't been kicked out of school. She had been in good enough health at the time to go to my graduation. I still kick myself for how stupid I was back then. Edit. I didn't expect this much support. Thanks. I'm not too torn up about letting her pass. I knew it was for the best. She was such a great person. She didn't deserve to live in such a poor manner any longer than she already had. I don't regret what I did. I regret what I had done that got me kicked out of school. That I didn't try and make it to graduation for her. I think I've lived my life so far in a way that she'd be proud of. Not graduating before she passed is the only regret I really have in this life so far. And I'm 35 now, so I think I'm doing pretty good. My wife. Her mom and I bought a house about 2 years ago. Just from talking to the neighbors I'd gathered that the family who lived here before had a daughter that was mixed up with the wrong people. We had some random person knock on our door at night saying he needed gas. We are down a long driveway. No way you'd randomly walk up to our house to ask for help. I think he was looking for the people who used to live here. And then another time Sunday morning making pancakes for the family I get a knock on the door and it's 4 sheriff's officers saying they received a 911 call that hung up and it was from the house. We don't have a landline and I assured them my wife and 2-year-old did not make any call. They mentioned the name of the previous occupants and I let them know we moved in earlier this year and they seemed okay with that and left. Anyways, I was doing some yard work and struck up conversation with the neighbor. He saw the police cars and asked what was up. I told him the situation and he just goes, oh yeah, that family was messed up. The cops were probably being cautious considering the shooting. What shooting, I ask. He kinda looks at me with a sad worried face. The shooting in your house. Wait, what? I say, truly baffled. He then proceeds to tell me that about 2 years before the father in the house confronted his daughter and boyfriend he didn't like and shot and killed the boyfriend in the house. Our state doesn't have a disclosure law, so we never knew. I was blown away. All the strange happenings kinda made sense now. He said the friends of the victim had kinda terrorized them for a while cause the police were taking so long to press charges. Slashed tears. Midnight fireworks odds that the neighbors hated. I was shocked, but just said that's crazy. But hey, do me a favor and never tell my wife or Mill about that. They are a little spooked by things like that. So the TRDL is that we live in a murder house and I'm the only one of my family that knows. I found my adoption papers a few years ago when I was looking for a copy of my birth certificate. I know my birth mom, I just never had a relationship with her. My maternal grandmother took me in 2002. I never knew she adopted me. I just knew that one day I ended up living with her after telling her one day I don't want to go back home lol. I also found the letter that my mom wrote as to why she was giving me up. That one really hurt. Edit. Didn't expect this many upvotes honestly lol. Thank you everyone for your kind words. My grandma is really the sweetest person ever. I'm forever grateful for her U0001F979. But I just wanted to say, now that I'm older I understand why my mom did what she did, and believe it or not we actually have a cordial relationship now lol. Edit 2. This brought back some unsettling feelings. I thought I was over lol. But I want to thank you guys for your own stories and kind words. They made me realize that I'm not the only one who had a rough life growing up, and I shouldn't let that stop me from healing and being the best that I can be. This has been one of the worst years of my life. I've been taking loss after loss and I honestly felt like unaliving myself. I kept coming back to read the comments and I see how strong everyone is and didn't let what they went through stop them from doing better. So I just wanted to say that I've made an appointment to start therapy again, and I'm going to be completely honest about how I truly feel and open up more. Thank you so much Reddit. Also I haven't been the best granddaughter lately, so I'm spending more quality time with my grandma and helping her out with whatever she needs. It's not my secret, but my mom's, and I'm not hiding it from everyone. Just the person who it potentially matters to the most. When my mom was in high school in the 60s, she had a long-term serious boyfriend named Jimmy. They were each other's first. They were together 4 years and were planning on getting married. He went away to college. My mom stayed behind, but they were still together. You know what happened next? He cheated and got the new girl pregnant. He comes home to break the news to my mom. Abortion was not legal at the time. He basically says that he wants to be with my mom, but he has no choice but to marry this other girl. My mom was devastated. Here's the secret. My mom was also pregnant by him, but hadn't told him yet. She decided she wasn't ever going to tell him. Jimmy went on to marry the other girl and never knew my mom was also pregnant. She told me that she later threw herself down a flight of stairs to cause a miscarriage. My mom actually reconnected with Jimmy during the early days of Facebook. She didn't have an account, but asked me to look for him using mine. He was still married to the same person. My mom was married to my dad. They wrote to each other for a while, using my account. Close bracket. Signed their messages saying I love you. My mom passed away a number of years ago. I think about this knowledge I have that Jimmy doesn't. This major life event thing that he doesn't even know happened. That could have changed the trajectory of many lives. I'm certainly not going to tell him. It's not my secret to tell. Edit. There seems to be a part of the story that I didn't make clear enough. My mom had a miscarriage and never had that baby. It was an intentional miscarriage by throwing herself down the stairs. Jimmy is not my father. In high school, I was a super good kid. Straight A student who loved homework, keeping out of trouble, and who was quiet as hell during class. So anyway, there was this guy who was also in AP classes with me, but he was super loud and obnoxious, but would pull stunts in such a way that he would have some margin of plausible deniability. Though we never spoke, I'm not sure he even knew I existed. He rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it was from the one cold day when this other girl in our class had her nipples poking through her shirt BC she forgot a sweater, and he kept saying to her damn it's cold. Maybe it was from when he would pretend to be friends with kid who was definitely spectrum and desperate to be friends with him to do the bully's homework for him and then bully him the next day. IDK. So at random, sometimes once a week or a month or once every couple of months, I would whistle. It's this high-pitched whistle that sounds like a tea kettle that I can do while barely moving my mouth. Back then, no one knew I could do it except for my family. The super obnoxious kid always got in trouble. I was never once suspected